Once upon a time, there were two lovers named Jack and Jill. They had been dating for a while and decided to take a romantic getaway together in a secluded cabin deep in the woods. As they arrived, they were greeted by the warm and inviting cabin. It was a small, cozy space with a rustic charm that made them feel right at home. They explored the cabin, taking in the sights and sounds of the forest that surrounded them. The cabin had a large fireplace that was already burning, casting a warm glow over the space. They unpacked their bags and settled in for the night. As the night went on, they sat by the fire, sipping on wine and talking about their future together. They talked about their hopes and dreams, and how they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. They cuddled on the couch, feeling the warmth of the fire and the love they had for each other. They talked about their future plans, like getting married and having children, and how they would raise them to be kind and compassionate people. They talked about their future home, the kind of house they would have, and where they would live. They talked about their careers and how they would support each other's goals and aspirations. The next day, they decided to explore the forest together. They walked hand in hand, taking in the beauty of the trees and the wildlife. They came across a small stream, and Jack picked up a rock and skipped it across the water. Jill laughed and tried to do the same, but her rock sank to the bottom. Jack picked her up and twirled her around, making her laugh. They talked about their childhoods and shared stories of their families, their experiences growing up, and the lessons they learned from their parents. They talked about their first date and how they fell in love. They talked about the things that attracted them to each other and the things that they loved about each other. As the sun began to set, they returned to the cabin and made dinner together. They sat at the table, candlelight flickering and the sound of the fire crackling in the background. They talked and laughed, feeling more in love than ever before. After dinner, they sat on the porch and watched the stars. They talked about the universe and the mysteries of the cosmos, and how insignificant their problems were in comparison to the vastness of space. As the night went on, they retreated to the bedroom. They undressed each other slowly, taking in every inch of each other's bodies. They made love with a passion and intensity that they had never felt before. They fell asleep in each other's arms, feeling complete and content. The next morning, they woke up to the sound of birds singing outside. They made breakfast together and sat on the porch, watching the sun rise. They talked about the new day and the new opportunities it brought. They talked about the things they wanted to do and the places they wanted to go. They talked about the future and how they would make it together. They talked about their goals and aspirations and how they would work towards achieving them. After breakfast, they decided to take a hike in the woods. They walked for hours, taking in the beauty of nature. They came across a waterfall and sat on a rock, listening to the sound of the water falling. They talked about their feelings and how much they loved each other. They talked about their fears and how they would overcome them. They talked about their dreams and how they would make them come true. As the sun began to set, they returned to the cabin. They took a long bath together, relaxing and unwinding. They talked about the day and the things they had seen and experienced. They talked about the beauty of the forest and how it had made them feel. They talked about how much they enjoyed being alone together, just the two of them, away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. As the night went on, they cuddled on the couch and watched a movie. They held each other tight, feeling the warmth of the fire and the love they had for each other. They talked about the movie and how it related to their own lives. They talked about the characters and how they reminded them of themselves or people they knew. They talked about the themes and how they related to their own experiences. The next day, they decided to take a trip to the nearby town. They walked around the quaint shops and had lunch at a small cafe. They talked about the things they saw and the people they met. They talked about the culture and the history of the town. They talked about the future and how they would come back to visit. As the day went on, they returned to the cabin and spent the afternoon relaxing. They read books, listened to music, and played games. They talked about their favorite books and how they related to their own lives. They talked about their favorite music and how it made them feel. They talked about the games and how they reminded them of their childhood. As the night went on, they sat on the porch and watched the stars. They talked about the future and how they would make it together. They talked about the things they wanted to do and the places they wanted to go. They talked about the memories they had made and how they would cherish them forever. The next morning, they woke up and packed their bags. They hugged and kissed, feeling sad that their romantic getaway had come to an end. They promised each other that they would come back to the cabin again, to make more memories and to continue to build their future together. They got into their car and drove away, feeling the love they had for each other burning bright. They returned home, but the memories of their time at the cabin stayed with them forever. They looked back on their time there with fondness, knowing that it was a turning point in their relationship. They knew that they had grown stronger as a couple, and that they were meant to be together. They continued to build their future together, and their love for each other only grew stronger with each passing day. They knew that they would always have each other, and that they would always cherish the memories they had made during their romantic getaway in the cabin. Years went by, and the couple's love for each other never wavered. They went on many more trips and adventures together, but the cabin always held a special place in their hearts. They returned to the cabin every year, to celebrate their anniversary and to rekindle the memories they had made there. They would sit on the porch and watch the stars, just like they had on their first trip. They would talk about the past and the present, and how much they had grown and changed as a couple. They would talk about their future and the plans they had for it. One year, when they returned to the cabin, the man got down on one knee and proposed to the woman. He had planned it for months, and had even decorated the cabin with rose petals and candles. The woman was overjoyed and said yes, feeling overwhelmed with emotion. They hugged and kissed, knowing that they were going to spend the rest of their lives together. The couple got married in the cabin, surrounded by their closest friends and family. It was a beautiful ceremony, held under the trees and with the sound of the birds singing in the background. They exchanged vows, promising to love and cherish each other for the rest of their lives. They shared their first dance as husband and wife, feeling the love they had for each other in every step. After the wedding, they honeymooned in the cabin. They spent their days hiking and exploring the forest, and their nights cuddled up by the fire. They talked about their future and the plans they had for it. They talked about their past and the memories they had made. They talked about the present and how happy they were to be married. Years went by, and the couple had children of their own. They took them to the cabin, to show them the place where their parents had fallen in love. They told them stories of their past, and how the cabin had played a special role in their relationship. They showed them the stars and the forest, and taught them the importance of nature and love. As the couple grew older, they returned to the cabin less and less, but the memories they had made there never faded. They would sit on their porch, holding hands and talking about the past. They would talk about the cabin and how it had changed over the years. They would talk about the future and the memories they had yet to make. They knew that no matter what happened, they would always have each other and the memories they had made at the cabin. And so, the couple lived their lives in love and happiness, knowing that they had found each other in the most unlikely of places. They knew that they were meant to be together, and that the cabin would always hold a special place in their hearts. They knew that they had built a future together, and that they would always cherish the memories they had made in the cabin.